Fiedler says it's your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude. It's all about your attitude. Jorge Rodriguez is a brave man. He says he's ready to die now. So at the end of the day, poor Jorge couldn't connect, just couldn't connect. So earned value management, this is the underlying philosophy of earned value management. Let me show you very, very easily. Close your notes. We're going to try and push ourselves to the limit here. So Luke, come out and help us start with task A. What would the early start be?
Your early start is going to be 0.
Thank you. The arrow diagramming method, the actual activity is the arrow. This is the activity. Management is interested in how much work did you actually accomplish, which is this. This is what you actually accomplished. This is what you said you would accomplish. What's his name, do you know? Good. What's her name? Me. Okay. Is there anyone before I get a victim? What's her name?
Oh, you got me.
How many of us got 2? Good. How many of us got at least 1? Thank God. Okay. I promise I will tell everyone everything. I'll stop swearing and cussing the PMI out. Race young guys, come out. Just all come out. I want you to drive this thing to the end. Drive it to the end. So get your mindset aligned. Come prepared tomorrow. We're going to push through. We're going to start learning the meat of the PMBOK guide. Thank you so much for your attention. It's about that time we have to close. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Praizion Media offers real-world project management training, PMP exam training, CAPM training, leadership training, Microsoft project and communications training in Arizona, California, New York, Washington, D.C., Virginia, London, UK, Canada, and indeed the world. Look for the Project Management Mid-Level to C-Level book at Praizion.com, as well as other audiobooks by Phil C. Akinwale, including 7 Reasons Why Projects Fail, The No Good Leader, Project VBX11, The Time Machine Project, and Project Management Essentials. Phil C. Akinwale is a project management expert and author who has trained thousands of project managers worldwide. He is the founder of Praizion Media, an organization that has trained global Fortune 500 companies and organizations for various professional project management examinations. Phil is a professional speaker, author, trainer, and coach with America's #1 expert on leadership, John Maxwell team.
There's a lot of money at stake. I just told you, you better tell him. Tell him there's a lot of money at stake. You better talk to yourselves. After $40 million later, projects have gone to the dogs. Why? People aren't great leaders. And all of a sudden, in some bright blue or black text, congrats, you've been selected for a survey. We would like to find out, did you enjoy your exam experience? Did you like the venue? Was it clean? Do you like the staff? Connectors do the difficult work of keeping it simple. KISS. You probably heard of that. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. Risk management. Thank you. Anyone else back here?
Allocation of resources.
Allocation of resources. Huge one. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th level here in this branch, we're calling the work package level. Give you a quick example. I have worked in various industries. I've worked in aerospace, I've worked in engineering, I've worked in environmental engineering, I've worked in gaming. Bill Gates. Now, I know you've got computers that every now and again speak differently. Now, don't try this at home. I'm not saying it works for everyone. But for me, in my paranoid state, it worked for me. If you're making a presentation to senior management, make it brief. They hate long-winded presentations. But then, all of a sudden, the paranoid conspiracy theorist, gremlin inside my head, began saying, Phil, now, you don't want to do this. But real leadership is making people do what they never even imagined they could ever do. So in my paranoid nature, I begin to say, was the venue good? Yes. Were you happy? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Welcome back to Human Resource Management. In HR, the good news, no formulas, okay? However, there is some information I need to share with you. So take a look at the screen. Here is your reminder for the different ITTOs. Know your ITTOs. Remember, Human Resource Management, you've got 3 processes here that are in executing. If 3 processes from HR are in executing, and you've got 8 processes in executing, and 30% of the exam is from executing, what does it tell you? It tells you you've got a lot of stuff to do, okay? So know your ITTOs very well in this area, understand how to apply them, understand soft skills, and so on. Take a look here. I've got some very important information to share. When it comes to human resource management, here are the pitfalls. Not knowing your ITTOs, not knowing the differences between acquire project team and develop project team. Appendix X3 in the PMBOK Guide 5th edition. Read chapter 15 in our book, Project Management Essentials. Be aware most processes from HR are in executing, which is 30% of the exam. Don't take HR and communications for granted, because this could really add up. It could really be very lethal if you are not good in this area on the exam. All of those organizational theories, Maslow's, McGregor's, Herzberg's, all that stuff, you need to know it, all right? And pretty much that's our wrap-up. I told you there are no formulas here. This is probably the most formula-free and technical-free knowledge area in the PMBOK. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about communications management. Welcome back. We're talking about network diagrams. Now it's time to solve the network diagram we have here. Now let's take a look at the bare bones look of this network diagram. Let's take a look at the screen. Take a look at the image we've got here. You can see A, C, E, F in the middle. You can see AGF, ADHF, A, B, F. Now, taking a look at the network diagram, you've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 options of different parts. When you add up the numbers at the top, 1 plus 2 plus 4, that gives you 7. When you add up the numbers in the middle, 1 plus 4, 5, plus 7, 12, plus 4, 16, right? When you add up the numbers in the middle, 1, 6, 7, 11, or you add up the ones at the bottom, which give you 14, 23. The question is, what is a critical path? The critical path, you can eyeball it and easily get the critical path. It's the longest path, which is definitely going to be that one. It's going to be 23. The other ones are much shorter. But when it comes to actually solving for the early start, the early finish, the late start, and the late finish dates, it becomes a little bit of a challenge, right? So your early start, early finish, late finish, for all of the activities, doing that could be a little bit of a challenge. So we're going to go through very slowly using our 0 method. Remember, 0 is a point in time. Like now, that would be point 0 on the project, and all the way to the end, we keep on adding whatever the durations are to find out the entire length of the path, okay? So let's start off with activity A. We start off with 0. The formula, if you wanted to give it one, would be early finish is equal to early start plus duration. So you're going to add 1 to 0 to get 1. The way the 0 method works is very straightforward. We just take the early finish of the predecessor and put it in the successor early start box, wherever the arrow leads. So we're going to take that 1 and put it up here, okay? And then the next thing we do, to get the early finish, we're going to apply the formula, early start, which is 1, plus duration, which is 2, to get 3. We're going to do the same thing here. Take the 1, put it in activity C, early start. Then we're going to add the duration of C, which is 4. 4 plus 1 gives 5. We're going to take the 1, put it down here, add the duration, 13. That gives 14. We're going to take the 1, put it here. We're going to add the duration of G, which is 6, which will give us 7. Does that make sense? Ultimately, we get here and here. So we're going to take the 5, put that here, add the duration, which is 12. We're going to take the 14 from here and put the 14 here because this is the arrow leading into it. We're going to add the duration. Remember, early start plus duration is going to give you your early finish. And that's going to be 23. Okay? And now we've got various options for this box. Now remember the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is you're going to take the largest number between 3, 12, 7, and 23. Even if we get done on day 3, we cannot move in here because we haven't finished the one for day 7, or the one for day 12, or the one for day 23. So when all the activities are done, then we can do activity F, because activity F is dependent on B, E, G, and H. So if we take that 23 and put that 23 here, we're going to add 4 to get 27. Okay? So let's take a quick look at the screen just to see our top layer here. If you take a look, you can see our top layer there is done. We're going to go back and do our backward pass. Now, to do our backward pass will require us to get to the end of the network diagram, which is activity F. We're going to get to activity F, and then we're going to start going back. That way, that way, that way, and that way. Okay? So the rule of thumb is very important. We're going to take 27, and we're just going to put the 27 down from the early finish into the late finish at the end of the chain, because now we are at the end of the chain. So we're going to take that 27, or whatever number you get at the end of the chain, we're going to take that number and put that number down here. So I'm going to use green this time to show you the backward pass, because now we've done the forward pass. Let's do the backward pass. To do the backward pass, take the 27, put it down here. Now we have a different formula, which would be late finish minus duration is equal to late start. So late finish 27 minus duration, which is 4, will give us the late start. So if we do that, we have 27, or 23, beg your pardon. Do that again. 27 minus 4 is 23. So we have a 23 here. We're going to do exactly what we did going forward, only the reverse this time. So we're going to take that 23 of the late start, we're going to put it into the late finish of that one, the late finish of that one, the late finish of that one, and the late finish of that one. So if we do that, we have 23, 23, 23, and here, 23 as well. Now if we keep applying the formula, late finish minus duration is equal to early start, we're going to have 23 minus 5, which is going to be 18, right? Is that correct? 23 minus 5 is 18. 23 minus 1 is, or 23 minus 2 is 21. 23 minus 7, I actually subtracted the wrong thing, is 16. So we're subtracting that minus that, that minus that, this minus this, which is 17, and this minus this, which is 14. Okay? So that's the first part, and then we're going to take the 16, and that will go into the early finish for C. So we've got a 16. 16 minus 4 is 12. Okay? And there's a way we can actually check if our answers are right. If we do this minus this, it should add up to this minus this. 16 minus 5 is 11. 12 minus 1 is 11. So it looks like we're good there. 23 minus 7 is 16. 17 minus 1 is 16. We take that 14 and move that 14 over here. 14 minus 13 is 1. So we are almost done with our problem. We have one more step to go. A. What goes in A is the question. We've got 21, 12, and 1. What's the rule of thumb going back? The rule of thumb going back is we're going to take the smallest number. So out of 21, 12, and 1, the smallest number is 1. So we're going to put a 1 in here. 1 minus 1 is 0. So if you take a look, we've got our early finish, early start, late finish, late start values for all of the different boxes or nodes. So if on the exam you get something like this and they ask you, what is the total float in activity C? The total float in activity C, we can calculate that within C, and that would be 16 minus 5 or 12 minus 1, doesn't make any difference. So your total float is equal to late start minus early start, or late finish minus early finish. Okay? That's your total float. Your free float is going to be your early start of the successor activity minus early finish of your predecessor activity. That's your free float. So we've talked about total float and free float. There's one more term to be aware of, and that is your project float. So our critical path, the longest path, ends at day 27. Now if 27 is our end date of the project, there is also what we call a customer required due date. So let's say the customer required due date, and I'm just calling it CRDD. Customer required due date is the 30th. Our end date is the 27th. Then if someone says, what is your project float or project slack? Your project float or project slack is the customer required due date minus the project end date. And that would be 30 minus 27, which would be 3. So as you go through these problems, the more you do, the better you become. But I have quite a number of other problems in the book, and also I'm here for you to take a look at. So let's take a look at one or two more problems that I would like you to try to solve. I'm going to show you the problem, and then I will show you the answer so that you can try them out and see where you end up. So here's the first one. Again, you might want to hit the pause button, get a blank sheet of paper, and then I would like you to try to solve this. Notice we have several arrows leading in to the different activities. So this could be a little bit of a trick, but I'd like you to try to solve it. And then after you have solved it, you can then take a look at the answer. Okay, so I'll show you the answer shortly. So that's the first one I would like you to try to solve. Here's an easier one I would like you to try as well. So what is the slack in task C? In other words, do the forward pass, do the backward pass, and then try to solve the slack. And here's another one. So I'm showing you three different problems here. So class exercise C is this one, and I'm going to make it bigger for you. Class exercise C. So hit the pause button, draw it out. And I'm going to show you the solutions to this, but I want you to try them yourself and have fun with them. And then this one is class exercise B. Okay. And the first one I showed you, which was class exercise A, now enlarged. So you've got A, B, and C. This is a solution for exercise A. This is the solution for exercise B. And to solve what they were asking you to solve as far as the slack in task C, the slack, total slack in C is 4 minus 3, or 2 minus 1, which would be 1. And then the slack in all of these for exercise C, you can figure those out. Slack for task C and slack for task F. For task C, it will be 22 minus 13, or 20 minus 11. For task F, it would be 26 minus 25, or 22 minus 21. So I have just given you a lot of work to do. I'll also remind you that part of the network diagram questions you could get revolve around activity on arrow. Now, what is the thing about activity on arrow? The activity duration is on the arrow. So to solve these, you would start here and add up the different parts. And if you do that, you'll find these options. Start ABN, start ADN, start CDN, and start EDN, and the answer, which is start F end. Bear in mind, this is also in our workbook, so if you've opened up the workbook, the PMP, or the Project Management Essentials book, you'll see all of these problems that I'm showing you for ADM, arrow diagramming method. Here's another one for ADM. You could see the network diagram, and the question is, what is the critical path? And the answer is start BD end. You always want to choose the longest path. Start BD end is 12. Okay, so work on those. Here's another one. The question is, what is the critical path? And you've got various options, but note the dotted lines. The dotted lines are called dummies. One of my students said, oh, I can remember that. That's what my wife calls me. Dummy. Well, these are called dummies in the sense that they have no duration, but they do represent a path within which you can pass from A to D or from C to E. So dummies are synonymous with the ADM. You do not have dummies in PDM or AON. Activity on node has no dummies, which is PDM, precedence diagramming method. Arrow diagramming method, this one, has dummies. Okay? And the answer to that, we've got these different options. The answer is start AD end, which is 20. So many network diagrams. I mean, if we were here just doing network diagrams, we'll be here for the next 4 hours. I'm sure you wouldn't like that, would you? Nothing but network diagrams for 4 hours. Let me show you a few other things to be aware of for the exam. We also talk about the 3-point estimate, or the PERT formula, we also have in the PMBOK guide now mention of not only the beta distribution formula, which is the one we're talking about here, we also have the triangular distribution formula. So let me point you to the right page for these formulas so that you can read them some more and get used to them.